Hello, my name is Shane Corwin, and I'll be discussing the impacts of a speech JFK gave in 1962. Sailing is a lot of different things to a lot of different people. To the old man who spent his summers on a lake, sailing is a collection of fond memories. To a merchant marine officer, sailing is the way the world goes round. To a sail racer, it's a way of life. But to Damon Runyon of Sports Illustrated, the 1930 America's Cup was about as interesting as watching grass grow. But on September 14, 1962, JFK went to the Breakers Estate in Newport, Rhode Island to meet the American and Australian teams, where he gave his own articulation of sailing. Right now, sailing's in a state of change. Nobody knows what the next America's Cup will look like, and kind of really don't like what the last one did. If we want to drive the sport in a positive direction, perhaps we'll consider the words JFK spoke on the subject. The America's Cup is now 151 years old. And at the time, in 1962, had only been competed by Great Britain. It had only been contested by Great Britain since 1885. This came with two serious challenges that JFK addressed. The first being that this was Australia's first appearance at the Cup, and he attributed that to alcoholism that was driven in this country by ships leaving from Newport, Rhode Island to Perth with gallons of rum and gin in their hull. He remembers a time in 1801 when Governor Philip Gidley King returned 13,000 gallons of rum and gin to Newport, Rhode Island. This was the first action in a temperance movement that took a very long time to precipitate through the country. JFK says that now many other countries would have to worry about Australia in sporting events, hinting at the Olympics. America had known who they were racing. They knew the British team and they knew how to beat them. And this year they had no idea if they were going to be able to beat the Australian team. This was because of the second major challenge that JFK addressed. Up until 1962, the only boats that had raced in the America's Cup were called J-class boats. Now, a class of boat is set up by rules made by a boat designer. There's variations, but there's still limitations, so each boat looks relatively the same. But post-World War II economic realities had made 12 meters necessary. 12 meters were cheaper and eventually faster, but the boat designers didn't know if they were designing a fast boat, and the sailors didn't know if they were sailing it very well. But JFK knew sailing very, very well. In 1936, he won the Nantucket Sound Star Class Championship, and in 1938, he won the East Coast College Championship. His own personal notes were dotted with drawings of his favorite small sailboat, Victoria. The words he spoke which left the most impact were, "I really don't know why it is that all of us are so committed to the sea, except I think it is because in addition to the fact that the sea changes and the light changes and the ships change, it's because we all come from the sea. And it is an interesting biological fact that all of us have, in our veins, the exact same percentage of salt in our blood that exists in the ocean, and therefore we have salt in our blood, our sweat, and our tears." JFK knew how much this regatta meant to not only the sailors, but the countries supporting them. And he left them with this: "The U.S. and Australia are most intimately bound together today. So beyond the race and beyond the results was the happy relationship between two great people." Today, there are no longer any nationality rules, and the regatta has been highly commercialized. The regatta is now decided on who can buy the most expensive equipment versus who can design and sail the fastest boat. So much more money is spent on computer models than was spent on building smaller versions of boats and testing them in tanks back in the day. Hopefully, we can listen to JFK's words and remember what sailing really is, something that we love to do.